Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Staub here with the Maegical Stories of Healing and Spiritual Gifts podcast, here as usual with my lovely wife, Megan.
Hi, y'all.
And we're very excited to bring you a conversation with Mr. Mark Holaway today. I'm excited to talk about him for a few reasons, talk with him for a few reasons. You know, PTSD it comes in so many forms, and it's just there's so many issues with it out there today. So we're going to talk to him about how he's been able to help himself with that. Mark Holaway, to kind of introduce him, is a Renaissance man of the very best kind. He's a lover of all things so filling, decadent, artful, and celebratory. After 20 years in emergency management, Mark retired from the fire service as a captain in 2016, and he now works in the sourcing of local foods, nutrition, farming, learning, sustainability, entrepreneurship, and community. All incredible stuff. He spends his free time advocating for emergency personnel facing duty-related cancers, as well as studying alternative treatment methods, holistic wellness, and most importantly, perfecting the art of the perfect cocktail. Is that right, Mark?
That is correct. Yes.
That's awesome, man. We're so happy to have you on here. One consistency that we've found in really making this push of healing is people finding different ways to heal, unorthodox ways to truly heal than what the norm usually is. And with Mark, it sounds like it was a big part of it was the discovery of entheogenic medicine, which, real quick, before we start chatting with him, I love that term, entheogen. I love it for many, many reasons. To define it, it is a class of psychoactive substances that induce a type of spiritual experience aimed at development or sacred use. And that's important because one of the, with the push of Maegical and the stories of healing, personally, because of my really positive experience with psychedelics, and I've just seen across the board so many people having these really positive therapeutic benefits of psychedelics, there's this stigma in psychedelics have that is just really unfortunate and really stops a lot of people from having an open mind to trying something like them that could be beneficial for them. So when you say the word psychedelics, a lot of people put a red flag up, and that stigma associates it, and they think it's like the worst thing or whatever. And calling it an entheogen, which is true, helps people understand that these powerful medicines are that. They're medicines. They're not party drugs. They're not, I love the word sacred, because Megan and I's experience, the more we've went down the route to study them and plant, it really is sacred. And so, Mark, I'm really excited. Thanks for coming on here and spending some time with us. Before we get into your story, what are your thoughts on plant medicine, entheogens really being sacred?
Absolutely. Entheogen is medicine for the soul. Our modern lifestyle, our trauma history, just the environment we live in, the stress that we carry damages the soul. If we want to expand our brain and say it's the entire nervous system, that it's the connection to the world around us, the people around us, that's our soul. And these medicines provide an amazing benefit of healing that.
Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. And that's, when Megan and I's ayahuasca experience, that's really what we felt. She had all this repressed trauma, and we truly feel like it cleansed her soul. Like she was, besides the purging aspect.
It felt like, the only way for me to explain it, and it sounds weird to people, is that I felt like it was not normal growing up. It literally looked like a sci-fi movie. But when I was purging, it literally felt like it was my soul that was purging. And when I sobbed, it literally felt like it was my soul crying. So that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah. I love that you use that term. I've never heard someone else say that. So that's awesome. Thanks, Mark. So if you could give us just a high-level overview of your story. I've looked you up. I think you have such an awesome story where you're at now and your experiences. Just a high-level overview of childhood to kind of where you are now.
until just probably the past 10 years, I wanted to say I had a normal childhood. Unfortunately, I probably had the average childhood. And in Arkansas, especially, Arkansas has one of the highest rates of childhood trauma in the country. While my childhood, in many senses, were free of pressures and the evils that prey on children, my dad had PTSD. He was a Korean War veteran, and so he brought his own trauma with him. He had a very rough childhood, and we can talk about that generational transfer of trauma, of what happens there. But it landed on me also. And then I went into the emergency services, and you know, if we test for childhood events, that adverse childhood event, my ACE score was too high for me to go into any type of career that I would be exposed to trauma. And there's one lesson I try to say to people that are fairly young and determined in their course: if they go into those things, make sure you work your stuff out before you do. And then I think if your soul is healed, a person's ready for that. But it takes a healed soul to be able to withstand that pressure of the stuff you see in emergency services, in medicine, in combat. It just does. And so I came out of the fire service and had developed PTSD fairly early on in the fire service. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have the words to explain what was going on with me. I came from a very rigid Protestant, Anabaptist, conservative church growing up, which there's some wounding of the spiritual soul that can happen in evangelical conservatism. A fanatic on either side is bad. And so I didn't have the understanding of what those problems were. I tended to think it was something wrong with me, defective wise. And it took a lot of life. And I met my current wife, and we started having conversations that was very enlightening. I finally had a safe relationship, and so I could talk about those things. We skirted the subjects. We didn't get in very deep, but I recognized that I had something going on with me. She recognized that I had something going on with me, and I finally said, hey, I'm going to try counseling out. And so I reached out to my employee assistance program, got set up with a counselor who then referred me to a counselor here that specializes in trauma therapy. And that started that process of trying to deal with the trauma of both my job and of my childhood. And we worked really hard for a couple of years and made a lot of progress, as far as at least I understood when my body was going crazy, that my body was activating, that my thought pattern. So that was progress. Recognizing when you're not thinking correctly.
Becoming self-aware. Absolutely.
You know, my wife also has PTSD due to childhood trauma. And two traumatic people together sometimes are volatile. And we created our own trauma among each other.
Yeah. I'm sure.
We had a good friend who recommended that, hey, when things get tough, what you do is you draw the blinds, you tell everybody you are out of town, you lock the door, and you take some Molly and you just love on each other. And so
That's awesome.
Gave us a little gift, and so we thought we were going to have this really wonderful time. I spent 20 years in the fire service. I never messed with drug culture. We occasionally, because I realized occasionally it kind of numbed me and helped me, but I was also drug tested. That was a very rare occurrence. I saw the dangers in alcohol and tried to stay away from it. But so this was all a new experience, and so we did that, and we planned our weekend getaway, and we took the MDMA, and thinking that we were just going to have a pleasurable, hedonistic, loving time.
Right.
Husband and wife, and just reconnect and love on each other more. Well, an hour and a half into it, we're both just like laying on the floor, hugging each other, sobbing our eyes out.
Oh, that's amazing.
And went like, holy shit! Like our past life, the stuff that brought us here today, like this is different. We can fix this. We recognize this. We love each other. That was a mind-blowing experience, and I got to talk to her that night about some things that had happened with me that I had never told anyone, including my therapist, yet.
Wow.
Because MDMA does create that safety. That's why it's so good in trauma therapy.
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking, like, dosage? Like, how much did you take? Like, what do you feel like?
I wish I knew that first time. I took some, and there was a little baggie given to me. They said, dip your finger in there, get a bunch, stick in your tongue. Like, it was a friend that gave us a dose, a night's worth. I didn't know what I was doing. And so that was, I wasn't paying attention to the details then. And so that, opened something in me. It's opened something in both of us. And so I went back and told my therapist, like, holy, we had this happen to us. This wasn't what we thought we were going to happen. My therapist looked at me and said, you ought to see some of the research coming out of MAPS and talk about that.
Oh, MAPS.
And talk with me about why that medication had the effect on me that it did. And those couple of traumas that I had been unwilling to mention to him because I had then talked with her in that state, then I was able to do trauma therapy on those events with him.
Wow, man, there's so many things I love about your story. First off, you got to the point, so you weren't into any aspect of drug culture. I mean, a lot of the people we talk to have experimented at young ages, and they're just kind of around it, and they've done it. You had no aspect of it, but you got to a point.
Even when I was young, teenager, young 20s, and didn't have a job that drug tested me, I still didn't do that.
Right. I love it. That's just, and this just goes to show the broad spectrum of people that this could truly benefit. It's not just one kind of people. And I love, and I love, and I really appreciate your vulnerability being on here talking about this, because, one thing we've learned in this mission that, our company has of trying to help people and the world heal is creating a space that is safe for other people, because someone like yourself, there can be people that will hear your story that have never tried a drug, that still have this conditioned mindset that MDMA might as well be heroin. I know that sounds extreme, but that's how some people have always seen drugs. So hearing your story and hearing how it has truly benefited you because it's used as a tool and used as a medicine, it can really create a space for other people to be willing to take a step and really find their healing too. I know I don't have a question written out for this, but just to ask you, if you had a message for anyone out there that has never done a drug, let's say, but is suffering from some PTSD that has, whether it's marital issues or PTSD stuff, what would you say to them?
Unfortunately, with the the scheduling of everything with the DEA and the risk involved, I would still look at them and say, despite the risk, when you are at a point where you're not seeing the way out of the situation you're in, and that cage the mind creates, when you're not seeing a way out of that, it is your birthright to have access to this medication.
Oh, I love that. Yes, absolutely. And there's been so many people over there, and I'm glad you brought up MAPS, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. For those of you that don't know what MAPS are, it's a great organization that's doing so much research, scientific research, and just having these studies on MDMA specifically has been a game changer in their studies, as well as mushroom therapy and some other things there. But yeah, they talk about how you spend your consciousness, or what you do with your consciousness, or your life really is your birthright. I love those are such powerful words. I love that. So you've dealt with trauma as a child and as a firefighter. Is that correct? Because firefighter for 20 years, that itself is so many dangerous situations. We definitely, both Megan and I, appreciate your service, by the way. Could you explain what happened or what kind of trauma you experienced on both, if you don't mind, on the firefighter side and on the childhood side?
Yes, I'm happy to. As I mentioned before, my childhood, my dad had PTSD, and there were times that he was violent to me. And then just kind of the whole event surrounding that. The nice, my dad, when he died knowing that I had forgiven him, because we had talked about it.
That is so beautiful.
And so
that's
we got to have that conversation about a year before his death, of him recognizing he did things to me that was just wrong. And I got to recognize that the man that I knew, my dad, would never have wanted to do those things.
Oh, so priceless.
And as I understand my PTSD, I see myself in him so much, and also see what he dealt with. Coming home from the Korean War, there wasn't like there was services available for the trauma that you had endured.
Oh, hell no.
And so, my mom is still living, and her and I have got to have those conversations of what my dad went through. Not necessarily during the war, but after the war. And he was a warrior, and was in the middle of that, and that vibrance passed on to me. And so entering the fire service, when someone calls 911, they're having the worst day of their life right then. And so it's that constant exposure.
Yeah.
I look back, and the danger that I was surrounded with was actually exhilarating and fun to me. The trauma that occurred to me was generally dealing with kids or neglect of just humans. You just see that, and there's just things that you're not supposed to see, and it just hurts you when you do. And that firefighters and police officers see just an incredible amount of stuff that hurts them. And so when those type of public servants and soldiers' behaviors are off, the one thing I ask people is, please see underneath that.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. One of the things I want to note on is just the true healing power of forgiveness. It sounds like you have experienced to such a degree with your father.
Yes. And I have had some amazing journeys, psychedelic journeys, where I got to experience forgiveness in just an incredible level.
Wow.
And that's, we logically know that one of the keys to healing is forgiveness.
Yeah.
Psychology is very aware of this fact. Entheogens bring you to forgiveness.
Wow. I love that.
And how were you introduced to psychedelics? Did you say it was through a friend?
It was a friend that said, like, hey, y'all are having some marital problems. Here's this little bit of Molly. Y'all go lock yourselves in a place for 2 days and fix this.
That's amazing. I love the authenticity of that story. And then go ahead.
Mean, that's great marital advice if you really want to get down to it.
So, and again, I appreciate your vulnerability on this. Megan's openly spoke about how, she's had some really serious PTSD issues from her childhood too. And a lot of people with PTSD as a child, it really affects intimacy later on in life. Did you have that experience as well?
Yes and no. I am rare in the sense that I've never been a victim of a sexual assault.
Okay.
And so, however, I used sex as a numbing and excitatory tool to deal with my symptoms of PTSD.
Got it. Okay.
And so, I had to heal that part of myself.
Oh, for sure.
And that's something that just I don't know if it would have been possible without what the medicine has done for me.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so I think a symptom very common in PTSD is numbing mechanisms. That's that hyper status of arousal constantly. You've just got to figure out a way to check out at times as a coping mechanism. And I had several methods that I used to just kind of check out. I didn't go into drugs because I think it was so taboo and I couldn't. And substance abuse in firefighters and police officers is way higher than departments like to admit. It's the trauma that's in those departments. But my wife being a safe person and allowing me to heal that. There's an amazing story in that.
Absolutely.
And so, the intimacy that safety brings is amazing. And when you heal, your level of fear goes down, and that allows intimacy to be deeper and deeper.
That's all. Wow. That's so eye-opening. I love everything about this conversation because this is just a whole nother world that people are starting to study and really understand the therapeutic benefits of with MDMA.
Yes. And that provided such a good entry into what I ended up the journey I took.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to get into next. It sounds like it kind of led you to a few other things that opened your mind up a little more. So what was your experience was ketamine the first thing, or tell me about how it transitioned?
My wife was recommended ketamine also, and my therapist, she was seeing a separate therapist, and my therapist also thought it was good for me. He said with the experience I had on the MDMA and the breakthroughs that provided, he thought ketamine would be something good for me to look into it. And so we found a doctor here that did ketamine infusions, and we both signed up, and and it was good. Ketamine, when I took the ketamine infusions, I took them 3 weeks, 4 weeks after a near suicide attempt that I almost did.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was at the end of my rope there, because I had done therapy. I knew in my mind cognitively what was right and what was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It still did not stop my body from running away. And I tried meditation, and I tried all kinds of eye therapies, and the eye work actually is very good for me. I respond very well to it. But still, bringing my activation level down or stopping it was still a daily struggle. And I was burnt out and wore out. And so we signed up for ketamine therapy, and ketamine was very stabilizing for me.
Good. Okay.
Interesting. What is ketamine like? Like, what did that feel like? What was that experience like?
I want to say it felt a little bit like your body was dissolving. It was very, it's a dissociative analgesic. And you felt very disassociated from your body. And I brought the meditation practice that I had sessions while I was doing the infusion, and I really tried to meditate, and I listened to calming music, and I had what was then some very, I thought, really neat hallucinogens, closed eye hallucinations. And I found myself able to kind of daydream in almost a lucid dreaming sense. And so I enjoyed that. And I also got to start realizing the power that psychedelics have in your mind's ability to make connections. And I started seeing through the fog of some of the problems that had been confronting me. And so I started being able to kind of solve problems, especially like relationship and behavioral problems, while I was getting those infusions. I saw them there. I saw that, like, how to deal with it. And so I did 6 infusions, fairly low dose infusions, and that was very stabilizing. In a few months, I felt like I was becoming more unstable, and so I went and did a couple of more. And the infusions are $500 a pop, and so I was $4,000 into that, and I realized while it was incredibly stabilizing, it was also, it didn't last forever, and it was expensive.
Yeah.
And so I'm smart. I have the ability to learn. I love to read. And so I started researching, and I'm a bit of a naturalist myself. As my early story in my 20s, I actually had Crohn's disease and healed that through diet. And so researching and taking charge of my own health, I'm comfortable with. Plus 20 years as a paramedic, I'm okay to do research. And so I started doing...
Wait, so hold on. What disease did you say you had?
Crohn's disease.
Oh, so intestinal
issues.
Now,
and there's a big mind-body component to that.
Oh, absolutely. Now, what type of diet helped heal that?
I did a lot of fasting and cleansing and plant-based diet to stop the disease process, and then went to a largely, I hate the term paleo, but it was a paleo type of diet. A lot of pasture-raised meats, high fat.
Like no dairy.
No, I ate a lot of dairy, but all my protein and fat sources came from pasture-raised animals. And a lot of fermented food and stuff, and really healed myself. I went from 123 pounds at 6'4" to 185 and lean and strong. And so
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a huge
diet changed my life, so that's why I was so curious as to what helped heal that. Because so many people, they're still stuck to taking pharmaceuticals that have Crohn's, and it's like they have the power in choosing the foods that they, feed their body and how they heal.
Absolutely. And so nutrition is based there, and right now I do a lot to try to stay on my nutrition and heal my brain. But I started researching and realized the power of psychedelics.
Yes.
There's so much good information out there. And so I was kind of...
And one thing I want to note real quick before you go into this, I love one comment you said, and I don't want to lose it. You said two things I want to point out that I think is so important. You said it helped you see through your current problem or issue. It helped give you this powerful perspective, which is interesting, and I think that's so important for people to understand. In my experience with my alcohol issues, LSD, because it's different for different people, different psychedelics work well for different people. Me personally, LSD helped me see through my problems as well, look at it differently, and actually see a way out of it. So I love that you said that. And I love that you said, too, you felt that your brain had more connections and connected better. They've done some really, really good studies, brain scans. And anyone can Google this. If you just put in like brain scan on LSD or brain scan on psychedelics or brain scan on mushrooms and a normal brain, and then it shows a brain on mushrooms or LSD or psilocybin, like anything. And it's so much more connected.
Yes. And what's incredible is those brain scans on LSD or on a psychedelic are nearly indistinguishable between someone who's a meditation master.
Whoa, so, I didn't know that.
This is a, yes, we can spend our lifetime learning how to meditate, and I think all humans should. But sometimes we just need a little boost. And this is a way to put our brain into that state that is incredibly healing. And we can naturally get there. But that takes years of practice.
Yep.
Oh, yep. That's like my ayahuasca experience. What I swear I experienced in 6 hours, I swear would have taken 10 to 20 years of psychotherapy.
Absolutely.
It's so crazy.
Yes. And that's you said that 6 hour experience would have taken years of therapy. And that led me to researching psilocybin, which in the area that I live at, I'm like, surely I can source this. We have a wonderful, funky little town here.
Where are you from?
Arkansas.
Shut up! I went to college there.
You
Stop it. Will Pig Suey.
Yes. And so I had done the research, and I wanted to follow. I was devouring the stuff that was coming out of Johns Hopkins, and said, I'm going to do this protocol. I'm going to do basically the dosage they anticipate, nearly 5 grams of dried, and do a therapeutic journey.
Ooh.
And
that's solid.
I was at a point where I knew I needed to do something, and I just didn't want to waste more money on the ketamine. And I set aside a place and a time and did the prep work that I thought I should be doing for that. And my wife joined.
Which was what? What did that look like?
We rented a little place out by the lake, just real scenic, natural area, plenty of woods. We have a massage table because we both like body work, and so we brought it along and just
dang, you did it right.
Doing what we needed to heal, and we were there, and out of desperation, without a doubt. And I had done a little bit of psilocybin, but fairly low doses a half a gram to 1 gram. Both my wife and I, prior to me leading up to this big dose. And she, on a fairly small dose, dealt with a lot of repressed memories of some traumatic events in her childhood. So she already kind of had an idea of the power that psilocybin had. I had never experienced anything like that in my doses. All I saw was a little bit of visuals and a very pleasant feeling afterwards. But I haven't been able to dig into myself. But so I thought the way to kind of do that was to take a 5-gram dose in the proper setting and really set my intentions of what I was going to deal with. And I set my intentions to deal with the toxic, explosive nature that I had. And
wow. What was that dose like?
It was it was hard. No one needs to enter into something like that lightly ever. And I took a 5-gram dose, and about an hour and a half into it, I was still incredibly restless, was unable to really focus and meditate. I was trying eye mask, and I was trying earphones with music and comfortable bed, and I still struggled with that. And so I took another 2 grams and tried to get comfortable and was, hallucinating, which I discovered that day. I started hallucinating sacred geometry, and realized I used to do that as a child also. I never understood what those shapes were. I used to get it, especially if I was closed eyes, like looking with the sun in my face. I used to do that as a child a lot.
Wow, that's so interesting.
I'm fairly spectrum. I'm neurodiverse, and so I think that all kind of plays into there. But finally, I was going through this experience and hallucinating visually quite a bit, but still struggling to get in. And my wife took notes of stuff I was saying, and I had told her, I'm fighting the mushroom. I feel the mushroom talking to me, but I'm fighting it. I don't want to let it inside.
Wow.
And
it's so important to surrender. That's so interesting.
And so my wife, she said, hey, let's set up the massage table outside and let me start working on you. And so set up there, and she's working on my legs. My legs were really restless, and I'm starting to relax, and I've got my eyes closed, and I'm just sitting there enjoying the beautiful sacred geometry of the orange and the yellow and the red and the golden of the colors. Just beautiful. And I'm relaxing good, and I start seeing these little blue flashes in all this orange and gold. And so I soon realized it's every time I breathe in, I see these little blue flashes. And so I say something to my wife of, I'm seeing little blue flashes every time I breathe in. And she goes, oh, that's weird. Smell my hands. And so I smell her hands, and my vision turned just brilliant blue. All of it, from orange to just blue. And I open my eyes and I look at the sky, and it's the most profound blue, and the trees are silvery and sparkling, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And my wife goes, oh my goodness, I had just put on this essential oil that's blue in color. And it was clary sage.
Whoa.
That's blue in color.
Interesting.
And I smelled it, and I saw what color it was. Now that takes making those connections. But she was.
That's insane.
And she said, yeah, it was an oil that I put on that my sister had sent her some oils. And she said it was this oil that my sister sent to you that's supposed to be good with masculine energy. And I was like, okay. She said it would help calm PTSD. And I'm like, great. And so I was breathing it in and enjoying just the colors that came from it. And then all of a sudden, I got handed to what I now call the gift that mushroom gives you. And within the matter of 2 minutes, I did those several years of therapy. And
wow.
I saw the root and the my actions and what that caused, of how I've treated the women in my life and where that came from and the damage that's caused and how to start healing that.
Wow.
And
wow.
It was just, here is all this knowledge and understanding. Here you go.
That's beautiful, because you faced it finally, which is part of, like, you can't heal until you face it. And then you got clarity.
And what was crazy about after that experience, my wife then looked at her essential oils and went, oh no, I grabbed the wrong one. I put on the oil that was for women.
Interesting.
Oh my God.
And the oils come from a source where, if you read the founder's writings, it's obviously he understood hallucinogenic states, whether that was brought to him by plant medicine or whether he got that by meditation. But he understood vibrancy of chemistry. But that gift was there. And I came out of that experience not stabilized, but confident that I was healing.
That's so beautiful, man.
Feel that wound inside me starting to heal.
Oh man, I know what that's like. Ayahuasca gifted that to me. I know what that's like. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm happy for you that you got that.
And
I'm happy for your wife too. For me to see Megan come out of it and see that not only part of her healed, but the healing, that's got to be priceless for your wife to experience too.
For multiple people, for them to see that and go, oh wow. My stepdaughter refers to me as old Mark and new Mark.
Oh, that's amazing. I so resonate with that. That's so cool.
And so that was the big aha healing moment. And I say from that moment on, I've been healing. I've had setbacks. Life throws them at you still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How often do you do shroom therapy?
I have taken therapeutic doses of mushrooms 4 times. And I've actually done LSD once, and I've done an ayahuasca dose once.
Whoa, that's awesome.
I'm curious. I want to play around with the science. I want to know the difference in the effects. And to me, they're each are different.
Now, did you do ayahuasca at home?
I did ayahuasca with a buddy of mine who's on a very similar journey. We only did a single dose. While it was interesting to peek into what ayahuasca offered, I recognized it was only a tiny, tiny glimpse of the power of that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think it should also be in more of a tropical treatment given by someone who understands the medicine better.
Yeah, so one thing just to note on that with ayahuasca, one huge component to it is the ceremonial aspect.
Yes.
And
the songs they sing will literally make you purge, and the protective aspect.
There's a whole protective thing because ayahuasca will open you up, and so that's so interesting.
About the dosing.
Yeah,
I had to take a strong dose for it to take me where I needed it to.
Yes.
Wow, I can't believe you did that. You were brave.
Yeah, right.
But
wow.
When you're sick and you recognize what's wrong, you want to heal.
Oh, I get that 100%. I mean, that's why I did ayahuasca. That's why I'm doing it again.
And this is the core and the epitome of why we feel so driven for this movement of healing. Like, one of my huge messages from when I was in ceremony in ayahuasca on like a huge dose of it was this incredible, beautiful, divine being telling me, literally communicating to me that she's going to give Megan her healing, but for that, I need to immediately go back and grow a healing community. And that's where Maegical started. Literally, it was a directive from a divine being about people needed healing.
People are conditioned that they're supposed to suppress, everything. And it's like, no, you are not. In order to heal, you have to be able to speak about it. And in doing so, you heal yourself and you heal others, which is a beautiful thing.
You have to feel. You have to be able to put words to your experience. And you have to feel all these things. And I suspect my story is fairly common among people that have used this for healing. The amount of feels you get during a journey.
Oh, yeah. So, Mark, there's something so important I feel called to tell you. And, man, you have such an opportunity to reach this whole group of people that I think need so much healing that are just closed off to it because they think all drugs are bad and psychedelics are bad. And it's just, you have an opportunity to be the bridge. And I really, really, in the deepest part of my heart, hope you reflect on that and understand that, because you could be the bridge. You, someone like that's, I don't know, tried it their whole lives, and that's one thing. But someone that's just like was totally against it for 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, and now you're into it, and now it's helping you so much. You could be the bridge, and you could be the catalyst for so many people healing by getting your story out there.
I try to. My wife says I'm a little bit over enthusiastic at times, but I try to talk about my story, and that's why I wanted to talk with y'all. The more people that hear this and understand this, and I've got a good friend that's a counselor, and I asked her the other day, I was like, what is the biggest problem facing most of your clients? And without it's in trauma.
Wow.
And that just shows you they need to heal. And I've seen this as I am slowly kind of growing my own community of like-minded individuals. The amount of different diagnoses that people are kind of bringing to the circle.
Yes.
But if you get down to it, when did that start? Well, after trauma.
Yes.
And then those that are using entheogens to heal, we're all kind of bringing that common story of we're healing now.
Yeah. It's crazy you talk about the 5-gram dose. I've always been an extremist, like all my life, which is early on in life was pretty bad, but now it's much better. And when I first started experimenting with psychedelics, because nothing in society was helping me with my alcohol addiction issues, I tried 7.8 grams of mushrooms all at once, and that is considered a heroic dose. And man, that was just. You did have a sitter. I definitely had a sitter. I did it the right way. I had a sitter who was just observing and everything, and I just shot off. And it was when I was first stepping into this spiritual world and understanding that these can actually be tools. And I was just a lot of Alan Watts videos. Yeah, it really did. It really helped me separate and look at myself and be like, why are you doing this? And then it's like, because you're unhappy. And then it helped me realize the power of thoughts. Like the 3 big takeaways in my heroic dose was how powerful your thoughts really are. The fact that, I was just really unhappy and separating myself and looking at my addiction. And also it was really interesting too, which this is a little out there, but I literally communicated with somebody that asked me about she was my girlfriend at the time. She's my wife now for multiple years, but then at the time was my girlfriend, and they asked me, they were like, is she it? Is she the one? Is this the one you want? Like, this is it? Is she it? And I said yes, and then I remember them being like, it is so, and then they just disappeared. It was the craziest thing.
Wow. I remain skeptical if anybody can do a healing dose, a therapeutic shamanic dose, whatever we want to call that, and not recognize the universal consciousness that is at least.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
So true.
Oh my God! I'm so glad you said
you can
that.
have a lot of conflicts about religion and all that, but it's evident that there is a very healing vibration, spirit, consciousness there.
Yes.
And
man,
these
yes.
amazing molecules have the ability, what I term as, it makes you receptive to that. And I've also come to realize that some people have stronger antennas than others. Some people without the substances, their antenna works pretty darn good. And we're all just a little bit different. Yes, it definitely puts you in connection with a very healing understanding.
That's what.
So amazing.
We got 2 more questions for you as our time's almost up here. This has been so awesome.
Yeah.
What is your plan going forward with your trauma healing?
My plan, currently, I reserve the right to take a therapeutic dose if I need to.
Hell yeah,
I'm also
that's
on
right.
a really good nutritional and microdosing schedule. And
Awesome.
I think there's
Shrooms?
there's power in microdosing that the therapeutic doses don't give you, and I think some of the
Shrooms,
science
right?
is starting to show that, and so
Yep.
that's exciting. I can see where remission is possible for PTSD, and I was told early on in trauma therapy that PTSD is something I will deal with for the rest of my life. And I just need to learn how to deal with it. I believe it's
Really bothered me.
with psychedelic medication. It's possible to heal that root cause of trauma.
Yes.
I'm telling you, ayahuasca took mine. That was the thing. I got about 75% healing from that ceremony. And it completely took the anxiety that always was in my chest, the chronic nail biting that I'd done since a little girl that I literally could not stop. And the PTSD was completely gone from that. I mean, I'm blown away still by it.
That's amazing. And these substances have so much power. And like currently I'm doing a statement stack of using psilocybin microdose. I'm using lion's mane mushroom and then a lot of nutraceuticals to make sure I have the proper nutrients to heal. An interesting fact is I've been exposed to siren so much I had some high frequency hearing loss.
Interesting.
I'm gaining my hearing loss back.
Wow.
And that nerve damage is repairing.
Is healing.
That's incredible.
I think I'm a smart guy, and there was a time in my life where I could almost photographic memory, and I was losing that. I was becoming, my cognitive ability was decreasing, and my memory was getting bad. And I'm getting smarter. As crazy as that sounds, I'm regaining what my intellect used to be, and my memory is coming back in amazing ways.
You are such a testament to this.
So amazing.
I'm so loving. I love everything about this conversation. You're literally affirming everything we felt like divinely guided to get out there. Like we felt like our purpose literally is to create this movement and get people stories like
Absolutely.
you out there.
To
People need to
heard.
hear that and know that.
Must be.
Yes.
I'm sick of people going to like conventional medicine. I mean, I'm sorry, I hate to bash on that. In my experience, it did not work for me. And I'm not a fan of pharmaceuticals at all. So I just love that you are sharing this with everyone.
Yes.
Natural ways to heal.
And I do love, on one little comment here, I love what you said about religion too. It's like, I think there's one of the big issues with religion is the spirit of religion, which causes such divide amongst people, like such divide. And at the core, I think it's all love, it's all love. And I feel like it's all love. And when you like have that experience, that psychedelic experience, just something, man, there's just something, you just get it. You're like, dude, chill. It's all love. Like, why are you judging? Like, heal yourself, help others, and love.
Yes. I've always been drawn to healing people. Spent my career taking care of sick and injured. And I spent a little bit of my young adulthood, healing myself and helping some people around me. And this is just I see this as another opportunity of a path that I can take, of not only healing myself, because that comes first, but then those people around me that I love, and keep expanding that circle.
Absolutely, brother. Man, we're staying in contact with you too. We gotta keep this going. This is awesome. Well, the last thing we'll leave, what I like to ask at the end of every podcast episode, is if you had one message to leave with the world, what would that be?
Oh, we're genetically we're perfect, and just allow yourself to heal, and that power to heal is there. And that may mean some unconventional stuff, and at the same time, also recognize that our body is here and our soul's something different in that greater scheme of energy. And whether it's death, you don't have to be afraid of it, but when you're here, just love and heal. And we have the ability to
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. This has been such an awesome conversation. We feel so connected to you. Let's keep the convo going. Let's stay in contact. Keep us in the loop with everything. And man, thanks so much for doing this again. Happy healing, brother.
Happy
healing.
You
are very welcome, and thank you for this conversation.
Have a good one, man.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.